My parents tried to extort money from my rich husband, so I disappeared. I'm still reeling from everything that happened, and I don't even know where to begin. It's a long story, so please bear with me. My entire life, my parents, especially my mother, always put my older sister, Amelia, on a pedestal. She was the golden child, the academic superstar, the perfectly poised young woman who could do no wrong. I, on the other hand, was merely Sarah. I was autistic, a bit of a daydreamer, and never quite fit into the mold my parents had crafted for Amelia. My achievements, no matter how significant to me, were always met with a shrug or a comparison to Amelia's latest triumph. If I got an A, Amelia got an A+. If I won an art competition, Amelia had just been accepted into a prestigious summer program. It was exhausting, and it chipped away at my self-esteem for years. When I met David in college, it was like a breath of fresh air. He saw me. He celebrated my quirks, encouraged my passions, and genuinely appreciated my art. David came from a wealthy family, something he never flaunted, and something I only learned much later into our relationship. His parents were incredibly kind and down-to-earth, completely unlike my own. They welcomed me with open arms, and for the first time, I felt truly seen and valued by a parental figure. David was studying finance, and I was pursuing my art degree. We were a bit of an odd pair to some, but we balanced each other perfectly. Our relationship progressed naturally, and after 5 years of dating, David proposed. It was a beautiful, intimate proposal on a quiet beach, exactly what I had always dreamed of. I was ecstatic, over the moon. My parents, however, had a very different reaction when I shared the news. My mother, upon hearing about David's family wealth, suddenly became overly interested. Her tone shifted from indifferent to almost predatory. She started asking intrusive questions about David's parents, their businesses, their properties. It made me incredibly uncomfortable. My father, usually quiet, seemed to go along with whatever my mother dictated. The wedding planning began, and my mother's involvement became suffocating. She insisted on a lavish affair, far exceeding what David and I had envisioned or budgeted for. When David gently tried to suggest a more modest celebration, my mother erupted, accusing him of being cheap and not caring enough about me. It was humiliating. David, ever the diplomat, tried to appease her, but I could see the strain it was putting on him. He truly just wanted a beautiful day to celebrate our love, not a show for my mother's social climbing. Things came to a head when my mother demanded that David pay for a significant portion of Amelia's upcoming master's degree abroad, claiming it was his duty as the future son-in-law to support his new family. She framed it as a wedding gift to me, by ensuring my sister's future. I was mortified. I confronted her, telling her it was completely inappropriate and out of line. She just scoffed, saying I was being naive and that this is what wealthy families do. David, bless his heart, remained calm, but I could see the hurt and bewilderment in his eyes. He politely but firmly declined, explaining that while he admired Amelia's ambition, his financial commitments were primarily to his and my future together. This refusal ignited a firestorm. My mother started spreading rumors about David being stingy, about his family not being as rich as they pretend. She even hinted to relatives that I was making a mistake marrying him. The emotional manipulation was relentless. She would call me daily, berating me, guilting me, trying to turn me against David. My father, as usual, remained silent, a silent accomplice to her schemes. Even Amelia, the golden child, started making veiled comments about how it would be nice if David could help her out, making me feel even worse that I tried to talk to my parents, to explain how their behavior was hurting me and jeopardizing my relationship. My mother just laughed, telling me I was being overly sensitive and that she was just looking out for my best interests. My best interests, apparently, involved extorting my future husband David. Despite all of this, was incredibly supportive. He saw through my mother's manipulations and reassured me constantly that he loved me, regardless of my family's actions. He told me we could elope, or have a small ceremony, anything to avoid the drama. But I still clung to the hope that my parents would come to their senses. Then came the ultimatum. A month before the wedding, my mother called me, her voice dripping with venom. She told me that if David didn't contribute a substantial sum, a completely arbitrary and exorbitant amount she pulled out of thin air, to Amelia's master's degree, they would not attend the wedding. And not only that, they would tell all our extended family not to attend either, effectively boycotting our big day. My heart sank. I knew she was serious. This wasn't about Amelia's education. It was about control and greed that I was devastated. I spent days crying, feeling utterly torn. On one hand, I couldn't bear the thought of my wedding day being marred by their absence and their poisonous influence. On the other hand, I refused to let them strong-arm David into paying for something he didn't owe them. This wasn't just about money. It was about boundaries, respect, and principles that I talked to David about it, my voice choked with tears. He held me close, listened patiently, and then said something that truly put things into perspective. "Sarah," he said gently, "we are building a life together. A life based on love, respect, and mutual support. If your parents cannot accept that, if they are willing to jeopardize our happiness for their own selfish desires, then perhaps their absence is a blessing in disguise. We deserve a day filled with joy, not with their drama." His words resonated deep within me. He was right. I had spent my entire life trying to gain my parents' approval, trying to be good enough for them, and it had only ever led to pain and disappointment. I realized, in that moment, that I had to choose myself, choose David, and choose our future that I called my mother back. My voice was shaky at first, but as I spoke, a sense of calm washed over me. I told her that David and I would not be giving them any money. I told her that if they chose not to attend our wedding, that was their decision, and we would respect it. But I also told her that their actions had hurt me deeply, and that I would not tolerate their attempts to control our lives anymore. She was furious. She screamed at me, called me ungrateful, selfish, and accused David of manipulating me. She threatened to disown me, to never speak to me again. I just listened, and when she finished her tirade, I simply said, "Goodbye, Mother," and hung up the phone. That IT was one of the hardest things I had ever done. The silence after I hung up was deafening, but it was also liberating. True to their word, my parents did not attend our wedding. Neither did most of my extended family, who had clearly been influenced by my mother's narrative. It hurt immensely, but the people who were there made all the difference. David's family, our closest friends, and a few relatives who saw through my mother's charade stood by us. It was a smaller wedding than originally planned, but it was filled with genuine love, warmth, and joy. It was perfect. After the wedding, I went no contact with my parents. It was a difficult decision, but a necessary one for my mental health and the health of my marriage. I blocked their numbers, unfriended them on social media, and asked mutual contacts not to share information about me. I finally felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. David and I started our married life together, building our dream home, pursuing our careers, and supporting each other every step of the way. We traveled, we explored, we created. I poured myself into my art, and David continued to build his successful career. We were happy, truly happy. About 2 years after the wedding, I started getting sporadic, unblockable messages from Amelia. They were initially vague, asking how I was, if I was happy. I ignored them. Then, they became more urgent. She started hinting at financial difficulties, at problems with our parents. I still kept my distance. One day, I received a frantic email from Amelia. The subject line read, "Urgent, Mom and Dad need your help." I hesitated for a long time before opening it. The email was a desperate plea. My parents had apparently made some disastrous financial investments, gambling away a significant portion of their savings. My father had lost his job, and my mother's business ventures had collapsed, leaving them in a dire situation. They were facing foreclosure on their home, and Amelia herself was struggling, having dropped out of her master's program due to lack of funds and now burdened with student loan debt. The email went on to explain that my parents had tried to reach out to David through mutual acquaintances, hoping he would forgive and forget and help them financially. Of course, David, being a smart businessman, had politely but firmly declined any involvement, stating that he had no obligation to them. This, apparently, had infuriated my mother, who then instructed Amelia to contact me. Amelia's email was filled with guilt trips. She reminded me of family loyalty, of blood being thicker than water. She even suggested that it was my duty to help them, especially since I was so well off now, thanks to David. She also mentioned that my parents were truly sorry for their past behavior, though the sincerity of that apology felt non-existent, given the context of their desperate need for money. I read the email several times, a cold knot forming in my stomach. The audacity. After everything they had put me through, they now expected me to swoop in and rescue them from their self-inflicted misery. They hadn't apologized for trying to extort David, for boycotting my wedding, for years of emotional abuse. They were only sorry that their plan to use David's wealth had failed, and now they needed a backup. I sat there, staring at the screen, a whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. Anger, resentment, a flicker of pity, and then a strong sense of self-preservation. I thought back to the countless times my achievements were dismissed, my feelings invalidated, my worth measured against Amelia's. I remembered the pain of my wedding day, the emptiness of their absence, and the strength it took to cut them out of my life. I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that I couldn't help them. Not now, maybe not ever. It wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting myself and my husband from further manipulation and abuse. They had made their choices, and they had to face the consequences. I typed out a reply to Amelia. It was brief, to the point, and devoid of emotion. I told her that I had heard their situation, but that I was not in a position to help them financially. I reminded her of their past actions, their attempts to extort David, and their decision to abandon me on my wedding day. I stated clearly that I had moved on and that I wished them well, but that I would not be re-engaging with them. I ended by saying that my loyalty was to my husband and the life we had built together, a life free from their drama and demands. I hit send, took a deep breath, and immediately blocked Amelia's email address. Then, for good measure, I blocked her on all social media platforms I hadn't already. A strange calm settled over me. There was no elation, no sense of triumph, just a quiet, resolute peace. I had finally broken free. I had chosen myself. Later that evening, I told David everything. He listened patiently, then took my hand. "Are you okay?" he asked, his eyes filled with concern. I looked at him, truly looked at the man who had stood by me, loved me unconditionally, and helped me find my voice. "I am," I said, a small smile forming on my lips. "I really am." We didn't talk about my family again after that. Life continued, serene and fulfilling. I continued to create my art, which began to flourish. David's business thrived. We adopted a dog, traveled to new countries, and built a beautiful, peaceful life together. Months later, I saw a distant cousin's post on social media. It was a cryptic message about family struggles and lessons learned. Attached was a picture of my childhood home, with a "for sale" sign clearly visible in the front yard. I felt a pang, a ghost of a memory, but it quickly faded. It was just a house. My home was with David, wherever we were, together. I often wonder what became of my parents and Amelia. Sometimes, a fleeting thought crosses my mind, a worry, a flicker of guilt. But then I remember the years of neglect, the constant criticism, the blatant attempts at financial manipulation, and the deliberate cruelty. I remember the pain they inflicted, and how I finally chose to step out of their shadow. I chose peace. I chose happiness. I chose David. And for the first time in my life, I truly felt like I had made the right choice, the only choice for me. And I knew, deep down, that I would never look back. It's been 5 years since the wedding, and nearly 3 since Amelia's desperate email. There have been no further attempts to contact me. My life with David is everything I ever dreamed of, and more. We are planning a trip to Italy next year, something I've always wanted to do. We are also thinking about starting a family soon. The thought of raising children in an environment of unconditional love and support, so different from my own upbringing, fills me with immense joy and determination. Do I sometimes wonder if my parents ever truly understood the damage they caused, if they ever reflected on their choices and the daughter they pushed away. But those thoughts are fleeting now, quickly replaced by the vibrant reality of my present. I've built a new family, a chosen family, with David and his wonderful parents, and our incredible friends. They are the people who lift me up, who celebrate my successes, and who are there for me through thick and thin. Do I realize now that disappearing from their lives wasn't about being vindictive. It was about self-preservation and establishing healthy boundaries. It was about breaking a cycle of manipulation and choosing to live a life on my own terms, free from the constant burden of their expectations and demands. And that, in itself, is the greatest triumph I could have ever wished for.